My name is Kendra Yates, a single mom who's been holding everything together for years while working these long nights as a nurse in a busy emergency room. The house felt strangely silent when I stepped inside, but the kitchen light caught my eye right away. My daughter Hayley sat at the table still up even though it was hours past her usual bedtime. She looked at me with that steady gaze she has, speaking in a calm voice that made the words hit even harder. She told me Aunt had come by earlier that day. Hayley said it just like that, without much emotion, as if she was sharing something ordinary from her school day. Then she added the part that stopped me cold. Aunt packed Grandma's things and said Grandma doesn't live here anymore. I thought for a split second that it had to be some kind of mistake or misunderstanding. Grandma had been part of our home for the past couple of years, ever since she got back in touch after so long. No one would make a decision like that without involving me, especially not on a day I was at work. But Hayley went on explaining how Aunt called Grandma a burden and told her to wait in the car while the packing finished. Those details made my chest tighten. I hurried to the living room, the spot where Grandma spent most evenings, and found it completely bare, with no trace of her presence left behind. Her room down the hall looked the same way. The closet stood open and empty, the bed made up without her familiar blankets, all her personal items removed. In just those few hours I was gone. Everything about her life here had disappeared. Before we get into the full story, where are you watching from today? Share your location in the comments below. It means a lot to connect with all of you. The winter Dad passed away, everything changed fast. My father died suddenly from a heart attack that caught everyone off guard, leaving me and my sister Lacey to deal with profound grief while facing practical responsibilities neither of us expected so soon. The old family house in suburban Boston ended up titled jointly in our names because Dad never updated his will with specific instructions, meaning any major decision about the property would require agreement between us from then on. My divorce finalized just months later, a separation that had been heading that way for some time, but hit hardest amid the fresh loss. With sole custody of Hayley and no co-parent to split costs, I decided moving into the inherited house made the most financial sense for starting over as a single mother. The place carried emotional weight from Dad's final years there alone, yet it offered lower expenses compared to renting elsewhere in the area. Taking night shifts as a nurse allowed me to align work hours with Hayley's school schedule, giving me mornings free for drop-offs and afternoons for pickups before heading back to the hospital. That arrangement provided crucial flexibility. No day job could match, though the irregular sleep pattern wore on my body steadily as months stretched into routine. Fatigue became a constant companion, but the paycheck covered essentials without leaving us short each month. I began learning basic home repairs through online videos and trial runs to avoid expensive service calls whenever something broke. Fixing minor plumbing issues or replacing worn fixtures turned into regular tasks that kept extra money in our pocket for Hayley's needs. Those efforts transformed the house, gradually making it functional again after neglect from Dad's declining health in his last period. Lacey established her life fully in downtown Boston, climbing steadily in her marketing career with roles that demanded long hours and frequent networking events. She rarely drove out to the suburbs except for major holidays or brief visits, preferring the energy of city living over our quieter streets lined with familiar neighbors. Our interactions stayed limited to occasional texts about shared bills or quick updates on work progress. The house preserved traces of Dad's presence in every room, from tools he left organized in the garage to furniture he chose decades earlier. Navigating those reminders daily forced me to confront grief in small doses while building new routines with Hayley. She adapted smoothly to the space, claiming her own bedroom and filling it with school projects over time. Night shifts meant relying on quick meals and coffee to stay alert during 12-hour stretches in the emergency department. Patients came in waves, keeping focus sharp despite personal exhaustion building underneath. Coming home at dawn to sleep while Hayley headed to class created our unique rhythm that worked better than expected. Lacey advanced to management positions that brought higher pay, but more pressure traveling often for client meetings across the state. She mentioned achievements proudly during rare family calls, sounding content with choices that kept her independent from suburban ties. Distance grew naturally as our lives diverged further each year. Handling property maintenance fell entirely to me since Lacey lived elsewhere, and contributed only her share of taxes when due. I managed lawn care in summer and snow removal in winter, viewing it as reasonable given my full-time residency. Those chores added to the workload but reinforced self-reliance learned from Dad. Hayley flourished in the stable environment, making friends at local schools and joining activities I drove her to, despite tired eyes. Evenings together before my shifts became precious, filled with homework help and simple dinners that grounded us both. The setup demanded sacrifice, yet delivered security worth every compromise made along the way. Lacey's world revolved around professional goals that rarely overlapped with our suburban reality anymore. She built a network of colleagues and mentors downtown, attending events that extended late into nights without family obligations pulling her home. Conversations between us shifted toward logistics over emotional depth as time passed. The years after Dad's death reshaped priorities completely for me, centering everything on providing for Hayley while holding down steady employment. Night nursing suited that focus, even as physical toll accumulated from disrupted rest cycles over seasons. Determination kept momentum going without pause for complaints. 2 years ago, in early spring, the phone rang unexpectedly. My mother Evelyn called after 25 years without a single word, since the day she divorced Dad and left us behind. Her voice sounded thinner than I remembered, carrying a tiredness that made the years of silence feel even heavier. Evelyn explained she lived alone in a small apartment, far from anyone familiar, with health problems growing worse over recent months. Doctors warned her about limitations that affected basic routines, from cooking meals to managing appointments on her own. She admitted finances ran low after retirement savings dwindled faster than planned. The call brought back sharp memories of childhood when she packed bags one afternoon and walked out, choosing a different path over staying with Lacey and me. Dad stepped in fully, then juggling jobs to keep food on the table while shielding us from the full weight of abandonment. Those experiences built walls around trust that stood firm through adulthood. Hearing Evelyn describe isolation now stirred conflicting emotions. I struggled to sort out immediately. Part of me felt justified anger for the past, while another recognized vulnerability in her tone that age and circumstance created. Conversations replayed in my mind during quiet moments after hanging up. I spent several days weighing options, replaying old hurts against the reality of her current situation. Colleagues at the hospital listened without judgment when I shared pieces of the story during breaks. Their perspectives helped clarify that decisions involved more than just my unresolved feelings. Hayley factored heavily into thoughts as well, growing up without extended family beyond occasional visits from Lacey. Providing connection to her grandmother offered potential benefits despite risks tied to history. I considered how refusal might close doors permanently on possibilities neither of us anticipated. After careful reflection, I called Evelyn back and offered space in our home, framing it as practical help rather than full reconciliation. She accepted quietly, expressing relief mixed with understanding about lingering distance. Arrangements moved forward quickly once the choice solidified. Evelyn arrived on a Saturday morning with only a few suitcases holding clothes and essential items collected over lonely years. The sight of limited belongings spoke volumes about life since leaving, stripped down to necessities without extras. We carried everything inside together in near silence. I outlined clear expectations from the start about daily schedules and private areas to maintain harmony under one roof. Evelyn agreed without pushback, seeming grateful for structure that prevented misunderstandings early on. Those boundaries provided safety for everyone adjusting to changed dynamics. Initial weeks focused on practical integration, from assigning cabinet space to coordinating laundry days efficiently. Evelyn contributed where possible, handling light tasks that eased minor burdens on my schedule. Interactions stayed polite, but surface level, as comfort built slowly. Hayley observed the newcomer with natural curiosity, asking simple questions during shared meals that Evelyn answered patiently. Those exchanges created neutral starting points free from adult complications. I monitored closely, ready to intervene if tensions rose unexpectedly. Night shifts continued unchanged, requiring Evelyn to manage evenings alone with Hayley until bedtime routines finished. Trust grew through consistent reliability on both sides over repeated days. Small adjustments smoothed rough edges that appeared at first. Reflecting on Dad's efforts raising us solo often surfaced when seeing Evelyn navigate limitations now. The contrast highlighted cycles families face across generations, though acknowledging it didn't erase past impact. Progress depended on present actions more than historical debates. Evelyn shared health updates during quiet mornings before I slept, detailing appointments or medication changes matter-of-factly. Those disclosures built basic familiarity without delving into emotional territory too soon. Patience became key as layers peeled back gradually. The arrangement tested assumptions formed long ago about capability for change in others. Evelyn demonstrated willingness to adapt within set limits, respecting guidelines I established firmly. Mutual effort laid groundwork for whatever developed next. Daily life incorporated her presence seamlessly in practical ways, from grocery planning to utility management shared responsibly. Contributions balanced out added demands, creating equilibrium that worked better than initial fears suggested. Acceptance emerged through consistent experience rather than declarations. The first few months with Mom back home felt distant and strained. Evelyn and I limited conversations to practical matters like planning meals or reviewing monthly bills that arrived in the mail. Those exchanges stayed brief, focused solely on keeping the household running without unnecessary overlap. Evelyn took initiative in cleaning common areas, wiping counters after use, or vacuuming floors on days she felt stronger. She handled laundry loads regularly, folding clothes neatly to show willingness to share daily burdens. Her actions demonstrated clear intent to contribute rather than become dependent right away. I maintained significant emotional distance because the pain from her departure years earlier remained vivid in quiet moments. Resentment surfaced when seeing her move through spaces Dad once occupied alone after she left. Forgiveness did not come easily despite time passed since childhood events. Evelyn spent much of her time alone in the downstairs room we prepared, watching classic television shows from decades past or flipping through magazines borrowed from the library. She kept volume low to avoid disturbing anyone retreating there after completing small tasks around the house. Solitude seemed familiar to her after long, independent living. I noticed coughing fits from her room late at night when returning from shifts, persistent sounds that echoed through thin walls. Concern flickered briefly, yet I chose not to inquire, because opening that door meant addressing deeper issues still unresolved. Readiness for closer involvement required more internal work first. Hayley approached the situation cautiously, watching Evelyn from across rooms, without initiating direct interaction initially. She asked me occasional questions about this new person, sharing our space, processing changes at her own pace. Curiosity existed, but shyness held her back from immediate closeness. Meals together happened sporadically when schedules aligned, consisting mostly of simple dishes prepared quickly. Evelyn offered suggestions for recipes she knew well, though I rarely followed them during early weeks. Neutral topics dominated any table talk that occurred. Evelyn sorted mail daily, placing bills in organized piles for my review upon waking. That habit reduced small stresses from overlooked deadlines amid my demanding work routine. Acknowledgement came silently through continued arrangement rather than verbal thanks. Sleep patterns adjusted awkwardly, with Evelyn retiring early while I arrived home near dawn most days. Passing in hallways brought polite nods without extended discussion. Boundaries held firm, preventing potential friction from mismatched rhythms. Hayley completed homework at the kitchen table where Evelyn sometimes sat nearby reading quietly. Those shared silences allowed gradual familiarity without pressure for conversation. Presence alone began normalizing the expanded household over time. Evelyn requested minimal assistance for doctor visits, scheduling them during my off hours when possible. Transportation provided practical support that maintained independence on her part. Waiting rooms offered rare neutral ground outside home confines. Household chores divided naturally based on energy levels, with Evelyn managing lighter duties consistently. Her efforts prevented resentment building from perceived imbalance early on. Contributions balanced added utility costs reasonably. I processed emotions privately during drives to work, reflecting on Dad's sacrifices compared to current dynamics. Complex feelings mixed gratitude for help with lingering questions about past choices, progress measured in sustained peace rather than dramatic shifts. Evelyn expressed appreciation through actions more than words, preparing coffee before my sleep periods or leaving notes about completed tasks. Those gestures chipped at walls slowly without forcing confrontation. Acceptance grew through demonstrated reliability day by day. Hayley tested boundaries occasionally by showing school artwork to Evelyn for feedback. Responses came gently encouraging without overstepping established limits. I observed interactions closely, noting positive influence on my daughter's confidence. The strained atmosphere persisted yet functioned adequately for basic needs fulfillment. No major conflicts arose thanks to careful navigation around sensitive areas. Time revealed whether surface calm could deepen into genuine connection. Evelyn adapted to house rules without complaint, respecting quiet hours during my daytime rest. That consideration eased integration challenges considerably. Mutual respect formed foundation for whatever relationship developed ahead. Daily routines settled into predictable patterns that minimized surprises for everyone involved. Stability emerged as primary achievement in those initial months together. Future possibilities remained open, depending on willingness to address underlying history eventually. As the next summer arrived, Hayley started spending more time with Mom. Hayley began asking Evelyn about simple family recipes she used to make when Dad was still healthy, and the house filled with regular meals. Evelyn shared steps for basic dishes like baked chicken or potato salad, explaining measurements patiently, while they stood together in the kitchen preparing ingredients side by side. Evelyn introduced Hayley to old card games played during evenings long ago, setting up hands on the table after dinner with careful instructions. She described rules clearly, letting Hayley win several rounds to build confidence, before increasing challenge gradually. Those sessions extended into laughter that carried through open windows on warm nights. I noticed Hayley smiling more often upon returning from shifts, her face lighting up when recounting small moments spent with Evelyn that day. She described new games learned or stories heard about Dad's younger days, details I never shared myself. The change in her energy stood out against previous quieter routines. I found myself joining evening meals more consistently instead of eating alone in my room to unwind quickly. Sitting at the table together allowed natural flow of light conversation about school events or hospital anecdotes. Sharing space felt less forced as weeks progressed under sunny skies. Short exchanges between Evelyn and me emerged naturally about daily health updates or weather patterns affecting routines. Evelyn mentioned doctor feedback openly while I offered insights from nursing experience, without hesitation growing common. Topics stayed surface level, yet built familiarity missing earlier. I realized Evelyn carried different qualities now compared to memories of someone focused solely on personal pursuits years back. She listened attentively to Hayley's school stories, responding with genuine interest that encouraged more sharing. Patience replaced any impatience recalled from childhood interactions. Hayley requested Evelyn's help with summer reading assignments, reading aloud chapters while receiving gentle pronunciation guidance. Those quiet afternoons strengthened bonds through shared focus on books chosen from library visits. I overheard encouragement that boosted Hayley's reading enthusiasm noticeably. Evelyn prepared fresh lemonade on hot days, serving glasses to Hayley during breaks from outdoor play. The gesture brought back faint recollections of similar treats, from rare good moments before everything changed. Appreciation grew silently for efforts made without expectation. Conversations at dinner expanded to include plans for simple weekend activities like park walks when schedules allowed. Evelyn suggested routes she knew from past visits, adding historical notes about neighborhood changes over decades. Participation felt voluntary rather than obligation. I caught myself asking Evelyn about medication adjustments after noticing improved energy levels in recent weeks. Her responses came honestly detailing side effects managed through trial with physicians. Openness marked shift from guarded exchanges dominating prior months. Hayley created drawings featuring all three of us together, displaying them proudly on refrigerator doors for daily viewing. Evelyn complimented colors chosen, and details included fostering creativity that flourished visibly. Those artworks symbolized warming connections taking root steadily. Evening card games became regular requests from Hayley, drawing me into occasional participation when off-duty. Evelyn dealt hands, fairly teaching strategy tips that improved skills across sessions. Laughter filled spaces once quiet with tension alone. I acknowledged internally how Evelyn prioritized Hayley's needs during interactions, placing grandchild comfort above personal convenience consistently. That focus contrasted sharply with remembered self-centered decisions impacting family long ago. Growth appeared authentic through sustained behavior. Summer days lengthened opportunities for shared experiences like preparing fruit salads or watching classic movies selected mutually. Evelyn contributed suggestions based on preferences observed over time. Involvement deepened naturally without forced initiative. Reflections during drives home highlighted positive influence on Hayley's development from consistent positive attention received. Confidence built through encouragement affected school preparation positively as new term approached. Benefits extended beyond initial expectations for arrangement. Evelyn expressed quiet thanks for inclusion in small traditions forming within our home that season. Responses came genuinely reflecting appreciation for second chances unfolding slowly. Understanding deepened through observed changes rather than declarations alone. The warming trend continued through consistent daily presence, creating foundation for trust, rebuilt piece by piece. Progress measured in comfortable silences replaced by voluntary sharing over time. Relationships evolved at pace, respectful of history carried by everyone. That fall, Lacey's career hit a rough patch. Lacey faced a significant pay cut when her company restructured the department she had led for several years. The change came without warning, reducing her income substantially, while responsibilities remained largely the same. Her husband lost his job unexpectedly shortly afterward, a layoff that affected many in his industry during economic slowdown. The sudden double loss plunged their household into financial strain, with bills accumulating faster than savings could cover. Credit card balances climbed quickly as they bridged gaps between paychecks. Lacey turned attention to potential solutions, spending evenings reviewing online listings for property values in suburban Boston. She noticed prices rising steadily in our area, driven by demand from families seeking more space outside city limits. Calculations showed substantial equity built up in the inherited house over time. Lacey composed a long handwritten letter outlining financial benefits of selling the property and splitting proceeds evenly. She detailed current market estimates projecting amounts each of us could receive after fees. The letter arrived in my mailbox one afternoon, pages filled with numbers and reasoned arguments. Lacey followed up with suggestions to schedule private meetings at local banks for professional appraisals. She proposed exploring loan options against the house value as interim measure before full sale. Those ideas aimed at unlocking funds tied in real estate rather than waiting longer. I refused outright because the house represented the only tangible connection left to Dad and shared childhood memories. Selling felt like erasing final traces of stability he provided after Mom left us. Emotional attachment outweighed potential monetary gain in my view. Lacey persisted through additional messages emphasizing practical urgency given their mounting debts. She described stress impacting daily life from cutting discretionary spending to worrying about future security. Pressure built gradually as communications increased in frequency. I maintained position firmly prioritizing preservation of home, where Hayley grew up surrounded by familiar surroundings. The property served as anchor amid personal changes already experienced over years. Relocating risked disrupting hard-won routine for my daughter. Lacey researched comparable sales nearby, sharing printouts, highlighting profits others realized recently. She argued timing favored sellers in current market conditions, unlikely to last indefinitely. Those points carried logical weight, yet failed to sway my stance. Conversations with Mom about the situation revealed her quiet concern over family division resurfacing. Evelyn listened without taking sides, offering neutral observations from experience with past conflicts. Her presence provided steady perspective during tense period. I focused on work demands to avoid dwelling on sibling disagreement, channeling energy into patient care during shifts. Hospital environment offered temporary escape from home-related worries, building steadily. Colleagues noticed distraction, but respected privacy when I declined deeper discussion. Lacey scheduled independent appraisal anyway, forwarding reports showing value higher than initial estimates. The document arrived with note urging reconsideration for everyone's long-term benefit. Reading figures tested resolve previously held without question. Hayley sensed underlying tension through overheard phone calls asking direct questions about possible moves. I reassured her stability remained priority, explaining adult matters in age-appropriate terms. Her worry added motivation to stand ground firmly. Lacey expressed frustration over perceived stubbornness blocking mutual relief from financial pressure. She viewed refusal as ignoring shared ownership realities established by Dad's will. Communication cooled noticeably after repeated rejections. Mom suggested neutral family discussion to air viewpoints, openly hoping dialogue might ease escalating strain. Evelyn proposed hosting at home for comfortable setting. The idea lingered without immediate action from either side. I weighed pros and cons privately during quiet moments between shifts, acknowledging Lacey's valid points while holding emotional line. Property symbolized continuity, Dad maintained through hardship after abandonment. Letting go equated to final severance from that legacy. Lacey scaled back outreach temporarily, focusing on alternative income sources for her household. Job searches intensified, alongside budgeting adjustments to stem debt growth. Temporary reprieve allowed breathing room before next push, likely. The conflict highlighted differing priorities shaped by separate paths taken since Dad's passing. Lacey pursued financial optimization aggressively while I valued sentimental attachment above monetary considerations. Resolution appeared distant without compromise, neither willing to make yet. One cold December night, I came home from my shift to find the house too quiet. I stepped inside expecting familiar sounds of evening winding down, yet silence greeted me instead of Hayley's usual greeting or Mom moving about downstairs. The chill from outside lingered on my skin as I hung up my coat, sensing something off immediately. Hayley sat alone at the kitchen table, her face showing clear worry that made my heart sink before she spoke. She looked up when I entered, voice steady but eyes revealing fear she tried to hide. My daughter rarely stayed up this late, especially on school nights. Hayley explained Lacey had arrived a few hours earlier while I remained at the hospital handling emergency cases. She described hearing the front door open unexpectedly around dinner time. Lacey entered using her spare key without calling ahead, catching everyone off guard. Lacey confronted Evelyn directly in the living room, voices rising quickly over money matters and old grievances held for decades. Hayley recalled Lacey shouting, "You're a burden I've carried long enough, Mom, and I'm done with it all." The words hung heavy as argument escalated without pause. Lacey declared Mom a burden she refused to support any longer, tone filled with frustration, accumulated over months. She added sharply, If Kendra won't sign the papers to sell this house, then you can't stay here dragging us down forever. Those statements cut through the air, leaving Evelyn silent in response. Lacey moved swiftly to Evelyn's room, pulling out suitcases and packing clothes with determined efficiency. She muttered while folding items, "This has gone on far too long, and tonight it finally ends one way or another." Personal belongings went in hastily, decisions made without consultation. Lacey guided Evelyn toward the door, insisting she wait in the car parked outside, despite freezing temperatures that night. The action served as pressure tactic to force agreement on selling the house once I returned. Cold air rushed in when the door opened, carrying finality with it. Hayley overheard everything from the top of the stairs, staying hidden while conflict unfolded below. She heard raised voices and movement of bags, heart racing from unfamiliar anger filling the home. Fear gripped her as events escalated beyond anything witnessed before. I listened to Hayley's recounting in disbelief, pieces falling into place about escalating messages from Lacey recently. The confrontation explained abrupt escalation after repeated refusals to sell. Shock mixed with anger at timing chosen when I could not intervene. Hayley trembled slightly, recalling Lacey's sharp words calling Mom a burden no one needed anymore. Those phrases cut deep, echoing past hurts now directed at someone who changed significantly. My daughter processed events maturely despite young age. I checked windows for signs of the car still outside, finding empty street, reflecting recent departure. Time passed since incident meant pursuit difficult in darkness. Frustration built at inability to protect during vulnerable hours. Hayley shared details observed from stair landing, describing Evelyn's expression of hurt, mixed with resignation. Mom complied without strong resistance, perhaps avoiding worse confrontation. The choice highlighted vulnerability age brought clearly. I contacted local hospitals discreetly in case Evelyn sought warmth or help nearby. No reports came back immediately, leaving uncertainty hanging heavy. Steps for next morning formed in mind amid emotional turmoil. Hayley asked if Grandma would return, voice small with hope, despite witnessed harshness. I promised efforts to locate her safely, avoiding specifics too upsetting. Comfort came through presence together in familiar kitchen. The night's events shattered fragile peace built over previous years, exposing raw divisions money amplified. Lacey's actions crossed boundaries previously respected despite disagreements. Consequences loomed for relationships moving forward. I tucked Hayley into bed with extra reassurance, staying until sleep came, despite her reluctance. Thoughts raced about protecting our home from forced changes, threatened repeatedly. Resolve strengthened to stand firm against pressure. Quiet returned to the house once Hayley rested, emptiness more profound, without Evelyn's presence downstairs. Reflection on journey from distant start to warmer connections made loss feel sharper. Determination rose to address fallout directly soon. The incident left marks beyond physical absence, altering trust in sibling ties, thought unbreakable. Questions about ownership rights surfaced strongly for first time. Navigation ahead required careful handling of legal and emotional layers intertwined. A few months later, the bank sent a statement that explained everything. I searched for Evelyn through old phone numbers and contacts from her past, calling anyone who might know her whereabouts after that night. No one had heard from her, leaving trails cold despite persistent efforts over weeks. The envelope from the bank arrived one morning with regular mail looking ordinary until I opened it inside. Details showed Evelyn transferred her entire retirement savings to clear accumulated property tax debt on the house several weeks before the confrontation. The payment prevented foreclosure threats building quietly and background notices I overlooked amid daily demands. Evelyn spent short time wandering after leaving, staying briefly in shelters before checking into a low-cost nursing facility independently. Staff there confirmed her admission record when I finally located the place through public assistance channels. Health declined rapidly from existing conditions worsened by stress and exposure. Evelyn passed away a few months later from complications doctors linked to weakened state upon arrival. The facility contacted me as emergency contact listed in her sparse paperwork. News hit hard closing chapter without chance for final conversation or reconciliation attempted earlier. At the small funeral service, Lacey appeared visibly shaken standing apart until approaching me directly afterward. She broke down completely upon learning details of Mom's quiet sacrifice to protect the home we fought over. Tears came as realization settled about actions driven by desperation that night. Lacey apologized face to face, voice breaking while admitting money worries and old resentment blinded her judgment completely. She expressed regret for harsh words and forcing Mom out into cold without considering consequences fully. The confession carried weight from genuine pain visible in her expression. I listened without immediate response, processing layers of loss from Mom's absence now permanent. Forgiveness did not come instantly, yet seeing Lacey's remorse opened space for eventual understanding. Shared grief over losing Mom created common ground missing during conflict. We talked longer after the service, acknowledging how financial pressure amplified unresolved issues from childhood. Lacey accepted responsibility for escalation, committing to therapy for lingering anger carried too long. Steps toward healing began tentatively through honest exchange. I proposed keeping the house together as tribute to Mom's final act, preserving Dad's legacy for Hayley. Lacey agreed without hesitation, viewing it as a way to honor sacrifice neither of us knew about timely. Practical arrangements followed for joint management moving forward. Hayley attended the service quietly, placing flowers chosen carefully on the casket during viewing. She asked questions later about Grandma's choices, processing loss at her level, with support provided gently. Family continuity mattered more through preserved home environment. Lacey visited more often afterward, helping with maintenance tasks once avoided from distance. Interactions rebuilt slowly on neutral terms, focused on present needs over past blame. Progress measured in consistent effort rather than grand gestures. The experience revealed how old wounds and current stress combine to damage relationships irreparably, if unchecked. Mom's silent contribution saved material asset while highlighting emotional costs, ignored in pursuit of quick solutions. Reflection brought clarity on priorities worth protecting. Lacey shared progress from counseling sessions during occasional calls, demonstrating commitment to change patterns repeating across generations. Openness fostered cautious optimism for healthier sibling dynamic emerging gradually. Time proved essential for trust restoration. Hayley benefited from stable home retained, growing in space filled with memories now viewed differently. She spoke of Grandma fondly, incorporating lessons about kindness observed in final act. Legacy continued through daily life, carried on within walls protected. This story reminds us that lingering resentment and financial pressure can cause us to lose loved ones forever, pushing away those who matter most in moments of weakness. Yet timely forgiveness offers chance to heal deepest family wounds, rebuilding bonds thought broken permanently through understanding and compassion shown when it counts. Thank you all for listening to the end of this story. I truly appreciate everyone who took the time to hear it through. Your presence means a lot. If this touched you in any way, please share your thoughts or personal experiences in the comments below.